Warm welcome, everyone. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michaela Skodova, and I'm the CanEU Capit Communications Manager, and I will be hosting and facilitating today's webinar. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I see you attendees have already joined us in, and we have muted you upon entry, so you won't actually be able to talk using your microphone. This is an interactive webinar, so you have a chance to ask questions, and those questions will be answered by the end of the webinar. You can submit your questions via the chat panel on your right-hand side. I recommend you to type them as we go. If you can think of them, then we can just proceed directly in answering them. I'm here today with Boris Boincean, a Groupe de Bruges member and a research professor and a man of many titles at the Department of Sustainable Farming Systems at Selectia Research Institute of Field Crops in the Republic of Moldova. We are also recording this event, so everyone who missed it can listen to it later, and it will be put on our YouTube channel. Before we start, a few words about the CanEU Capit project. The platform is co-financed by the European Commission, and it is for you to have learning tools about the reformed CAP. It also offers a place for discussion. I'm also happy to say that we do offer a highly comprehensive learning course on the Common Agricultural Policy. It's a unique course developed by experts and academics and professionals that provides a free overview of the 2013 to 2020 CAP reform. It's called CAP Pro course, and you can visit it on our caneucapit.eu website. This session is planned to last approximately 30 minutes, so I'm not going to delay the start any longer. And I'm delighted to welcome our today's presenter, Boris. Boris, now you have the floor, so you can start the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michaela, for introducing me and for introducing the presentation. As you have already mentioned, the topic of my presentation is crop rotation with high diversity of crops for better soil management and the role of European policy. It is well known that the dominant concept of agricultural intensification is the concept of green revolution or industrial model of agricultural intensification promoted by plant breeders Borlau. The consequences, unfortunately, of industrial model of agricultural intensification are as follows: soil degradation as a result of soil erosion and annual uncompensated mineralization losses of soil organic matter. Only on Chernozem soils, we have lost during the last 100 years more than 50% from the initial stocks of soil organic matter. The other consequence is water, soil, and food contamination with nitrates and residue of pesticides. The negative impact of the environment on people's health. Biodiversity losses, both above the soil surface and especially in the soil. Increasing global warming, and this problem was recently discussed in Paris. Worsening of farmers' economic situation as a result of high dependency from non-renewable source of energy and their derivatives. The prices for non-renewable source of energy and their derivatives, I mean mineral fertilizers, pesticides, are increasing significantly, and they are increasing significantly higher than prices for agricultural products. Disintegration of rural communities, etc. Industrial model of agricultural intensification didn't provide a sustainable development of agriculture from economic, ecologic, and social points of view. Soil, as a living organism, is crucial for achieving sustainable farming systems. Soil health, or soil quality, is determined by continuous turnover of nutrients and energy on the whole food chain. I mean producers, consumers, reducers. Sustainable soil management requires a high diversity of crops with permanent supply of fresh organic residue for continuous transformation of soil organic matter, I mean synthesis, humidification, or decomposition mineralization of soil organic matter. In our long-term field experiments, we have determined the effect of crop rotation for different crops, winter wheat, sugar beet, corn for grain, sunflower, and other crops, by comparing the yields in permanent crop or monoculture during 50 years and in crop rotation with different fields, 7 field crop rotation, 10 field crop rotation. What we have both on unfertilized and fertilized plots. On the next table, you can see also fertilized plots. What we found that the higher the diversity of crops in crop rotation, the higher the productivity of crops, both on fertilized and especially on unfertilized plots. And the effect of crop rotation, I mean the difference between crop rotation and monoculture, the difference in yields, is high for such crops as winter wheat and sugar beet, and is lower for corn for grain and sunflower. Crop diversity is affecting directly soil fertility and soil health, soil quality. By respecting crop rotation and the proper alternation of crops, we can reduce the necessity in high rates of mineral fertilizers and pesticides. For example, in our experiment, the extra yields of winter wheat from mineral fertilizers by sowing this crop after late harvested predecessor is lower than the yield reduction from sowing winter wheat after late harvested predecessor relatively to early harvested predecessor. It is evident that it is better to respect a good predecessor and a good crop rotation than to compensate the lack of crop rotation by extra amount of fertilizers and pesticides for weed, pest, and disease control. This is good not only from economical point of view, it's good also from ecological and from the social point of view. We have determined also in our long-term field experiment the share of soil fertility in yield formation for different crops, both in crop rotation and permanent crops during the last 50 years, but here is the data presented for the period 1994 up to 2011. It's evident that on unfertilized plots, the share of soil fertility in yield formation is 100%. The share of soil fertility in yield formation remain high in crop rotation on fertilized plots. The share of soil fertility in yield formation is decreasing in permanent cropping, I mean in monoculture, especially for such crops as sugar beet, corn for grain, and winter wheat. Low diversity of crops, especially monoculture, is increasing the dependency of farms from industrial inputs. So, both negligence of a proper alternation of crops in crop rotation or permanent cropping are leading to higher production expenses for cultivation of crops by using industrial inputs with well-known consequences on the environment and health of people. The role of the CAP, Common Agricultural Policy. The new CAP is foreseeing the following. Farms with between 10 and 30 hectares of arable land must grow at least 2 crops, and the main crop cannot exceed 75% of the arable land. Farms with more than 30 hectares arable land must grow at least 3 different crops. The main crop cannot exceed 75% of the arable area, and the 2 main crops cannot exceed 95% of the arable area. Farms with less than 10 hectares of arable land are exempted from crop diversification. In practice, this means that for large categories of arable farmers, nothing changes. It's impossible to respect a good crop rotation by having only 2 crops in the crop rotation. That's why I'm convinced that agriculture at the moment and in the nearest future requires more structural changes than technological changes. We should do more for the biologization and ecologization of our agriculture. This will allow us to make the transition to a real green economy, to make agriculture really more sustainable. We are considering that such existing greening requirement don't stimulate the diversification of crops and respecting crop rotation on arable land, and consequently don't provide good ecosystem and social services. In order to encourage a better soil management for food security and mitigation together with adaptation to climate changes, the CAP policy should be oriented towards increasing the number of crops in crop rotation on arable land, including of cover crops, catch crops in crop rotation in order to achieve a longer and better coverage of soil during the whole year. Improving the whole farming system, I mean crop rotation, cover crops, less disturbance of soil by soil tillage for restoration of soil fertility. CAP should stimulate a better management of soil by improving their quality, taking into consideration the above mentioned measures. A monitoring system should be established regarding soil fertility and carbon sequestration, in particular as a starting point for good soil management. I think that now in Paris it was adopted a good initiative to promote carbon sequestration in different states for reducing global warming. The most important now is to find a real mechanism how to implement this initiative in real life. Agroecological approach to farming system and food production is the most suitable for providing ecosystem and social services by respecting the conservation farming system with lesser demand for non-renewable source of energy and their derivatives, I mean mineral fertilizers, pesticides, and protection of soil and their functions. We need more interdisciplinary researches and on-farm researches and more knowledge transfer to farmers for a better soil management. Thank you very much for your attention. And I'm using this opportunity also to congratulate all of you and to wish all of you the best on the eve of Christmas holidays and the coming New Year's. Peace in your souls and happiness.
Thank you, Boris, for these wishes. I think that was excellent presentation, and linking it to the current talk in Paris was really useful. Thank you for that. So let's go to our questions. If you haven't done so already, please submit your questions to me via the chat panel on your right-hand side, and we'll be answering them now. So I have a first question in already, Boris, for you. So the question is,
Yes.
among what kind of ecosystem and social services can be provided by respecting a good soil management in the frame of the crop rotation?
Yes, thank you very much, Michaela, for this good question. I think that by respecting good soil management in the frame of the crop rotation, we can provide such kind of ecosystem and social services as carbon sequestration, which is determinant also in climate change mitigation and adaptation. As you mentioned also again, the decisions which have been taken in Paris are crucial in this respect, because unfortunately Kyoto Protocol and Copenhagen meeting didn't allow to have such large, broad decision as it was decided now in Paris. The other social ecosystem and social services can be preservation of soil biodiversity, which is crucial for soil functionality. And we all know that biodiversity in soil is significantly higher than the biodiversity in the above part of the soil terrestrial vegetation. The other is providing high quality food, which is good for people health. The other is water purification, etc. And again, the higher is the diversity of crops, the higher and better are services both ecosystem and social provided by the soil. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. The second question is, and please remember to submit them before the webinar finishes so we have time to answer them. The second question is, what kind of crops should be included in crop rotation on arable soils in order to do a better soil management?
Yes, thank you, Michaela, for the question. The diversity of crops should be large enough in order to provide better protection of soil against water and wind erosion, better control of weeds, pests and diseases, better accumulation of water from precipitation through improving soil structure. Very important things that each crop rotation should return back to the soil enough crop residue and other organic waste for compensation of the deficit of soil organic matter. The other important things is to have perennial leguminous crops in crop rotation. Better to have them in mixture with grasses. This is especially important in the condition of global warming because they can accumulate more water. I mean, by sowing perennial leguminous crops and grasses, they can accumulate more water in deeper soil layers. In the condition of globalization of climate change and global warming, the most important in the future will be the content or the stocks of soil moisture in the deeper soil layers, which can prevent in great extent the negative consequences of drought. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So I have a question here from the audience, and that is, the International Year of Soil is now officially finished. Do you know if there were any publications or things that we should know about when it comes to soils that took place during this year?
Yes, there are some publications. Very good publication, I think, that have been made by Professor from Ohio State University. His name is Ratan Lau, and he has participated this meeting in Vienna, which was held on 5th of December. But I would like to tell you also that there are some publications from here, from Moldova. We have published 2 books. One book, the title of the book is Soil as World Heritage, and where we are trying to promote or to recognize Chernozem as a World Heritage. Unfortunately, as I have already mentioned, because of losses of soil organic matter in our Chernozem soils, they lost in great extent their initial level of fertility. As you know, Dokuchaev, the famous scientist who described the Chernozem soils from Bessarabia 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, he recognized typical Chernozem from Balti, from here, from Moldova, as a king for all soil in all of the world. They have exhibited in Paris and Washington and in Chicago, as the monolith have been exhibited there, and Dokuchaev mentioned that these soils can be used as etalon for other soils. The other book, and by the way, UNESCO has included this typical Chernozem in the tentative list of UNESCO to be recognized as a World Heritage. This issue is in discussion now. The other book, which was published also, was Black Soil or Black Earth, Sustainable Ecological Principle for Sustainable Soil Management. Also, it's about this Chernozem soil, but there are also conferences have taken places in different places, practically in all over the world, dedicated to this important topic.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of interesting publications. Do you mind maybe sharing a link with me to them after, or and we can distribute them to the listeners as well if they're interested to get a bit more knowledge on that topic?
Good, I can send it to
Okay,
you.
perfect.
Maybe
So that's excellent. I will be sharing them on the caneucapit.eu platform if you're interested to watch that or read that later. And I think, well, we still have time for at least one more question. So if you haven't submitted yours already, please do so now. Boris, one question that I have here now is this. By increasing the diversity, no, sorry, I already read this. Did I read this one? No, I didn't, sorry. By increasing the diversity of crops in the crop rotation, farmers will have more troubles with machinery, marketing, labor, etc. How reasonable is to do this?
Yeah, it's you are right. You are very right. A high diversity of crops requires more machines, agriculture machines, and really farmers have more headaches with marketing. They need more laborers for doing manual works, but this is the best way to provide sustainability from economic, ecologic, and social points of view, to compete better with other farms in providing better ecosystem and social services. This can be done if the evaluation of farmers or farmers' activity would take in consideration the ecosystem and social services provided by farmers. We know that at the moment we are using mainly economical indicators for the evaluation of the farm activity. So we are using profit and yields, and that's all. Nobody is taking consideration what are the consequences of our activity, of farm's activity, on the environment and health of people. If to put it the other way, we can say that the price for agricultural products are not real price, because they don't take in consideration the expenses which we are required in order to, let's say, restore fertility of soil, to clean water, to restore people health, and so on. If to take in consideration these expenses, the price of agricultural product would be significantly higher. So from this point of view, I think this it's a good thing that Groupe de Bruges now is involved in working out the whole set of indicators for the evaluation of the level of sustainability of the farms, and not only on the farms, level of sustainability at the local, at the regional, at the let's say country level, and maybe even on the global level. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this answer as well. I think we just came to the end of this webinar. So if you just like to, Boris, move to the next slide in the presentation, I think there should be website links to where people can connect with the it's not, okay, never mind, the CanEUCapit platform. So so www.caneucapit.eu is a place where you find a lot of information about the current reformed CAP. And I'm afraid that we don't have any more time for today. So this is the end of today's webinar. I would like to thank the rest of our partners and supporting organization for making this webinar possible. I would also like to thank Boris for his time today and for his really in-depth explanation of soils within the EU policy. I hope you find it as interesting as I have. If you'd like to stay in touch, you can find us on social media. And again, we will be sharing some of the publication that Boris has mentioned today there. So please follow us and continue on your education and join us the discussion on the platform as well. Thank you, Boris, for your time today. This is the end of today's webinar. So have a good afternoon, everyone, and we'll hear from you soon, hopefully.
Thank you very much, Michaela.
Take care. Happy holidays, as Boris said.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.